if you two can work to get on the same page and get clear on your current financial situation, then really anything is possible from there.
Welcome to the Swiss Made Success channel. Please make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications for life-changing inspiration. And now, enjoy the interview. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Swiss Made Success channel and to the Stairway to Excellence podcast. Today, my guest is Adam Kol. He's the couples financial coach, a certified mediator with experience as a tax attorney and financial advisor. He helps couples go from financial overwhelm or avoidance to clarity, to teamwork, collaboration, and peace of mind. He received his law degree from Duke and Masters in tax law from New York City University. Adam is the host of the Couples Financial Coach podcast and appeared on CNBC, the Wallstreet Journal, Yahoo Finance, the Couple Money podcast, and many more podcasts. Adam is also an experienced musician, and he has his own YouTube channel where he sings also parodies of financial situations. Adam, welcome to the Swiss Made Success.
Thank you, and thank you for the wonderful introduction. Appreciate you having me.
My pleasure. Yeah, it's we met online, and I couldn't wait to have this interview because there's a lot of people out there that need to know more about this topic.
It's definitely one of the most challenging ones out there for couples.
All right, so Adam, let's go straight into it. What is a couples financial coach?
So in my work as a couples financial coach, it certainly is what it sounds like in that I help couples with their finances, but in particular, I find that a lot of couples are either feeling overwhelmed around money, they don't know where to begin, or maybe they avoid the topic, or maybe they fight about it, or they fought in the past, and so now they stay away from it. And those situations are exceedingly common. And so my work, my programs, my content, they are all designed to help couples go from that place, which doesn't work so great for your relationship or your money, to a place of clarity around their finances, where they are working as a team and where they're moving forward as a unit. And that gives them peace of mind and confidence in the direction that they're going and how they're getting there.
Okay, so you're there with them, you see their situation, and then you sustain them, reach these kind of goals.
Exactly. And each couple is unique. Each person in each couple is unique. And so my work, my programs, my content are all designed around tips and tools, yes, and also questions, prompts, things to think about, activities to do to get your brains going, to get the conversations flowing in a healthy way, because ultimately it's you and your significant other who know yourselves best, know your relationship best, know what you want, know what you don't want. And not only that, not only are you the expert in your own life, but if I told my clients what to do, they'd become dependent on me. And that's not the goal, right? The goal is, listen, your life and your financial circumstances are going to change many, many times over the rest of your adult life. And I aim to give my clients and my followers the skill set they need to make those adjustments when I got a raise, or, oh, we're having another kid, or, oh, shoot, my brother needs some cash for whatever, right? How do we handle that? How do I talk to my spouse about that? I give my people the tools, the skills, the confidence to have those conversations and make the best decisions for themselves and their families.
Well, I think like the coach's work, it's amazing because you can tell me also in your coaching, it raises awareness, right? It makes people aware of where they are and where they want to go, the bigger picture.
Absolutely. I mean, that's certainly a big part of what I do is helping people understand, like you said, where they are, where they want to go, and how to get there, right? But where you are, that piece is a little bit more objective, and it is what it is. But the where you want to go and the how you're going to get there, there's no one answer to that, right? There are many, many ways to approach that. And what a lot of couples do is they try and go straight to that piece, but they don't yet know how to talk about this, and they don't feel safe talking about it with their partner. And so either it doesn't go well, or it seems like it went well, but really what happened is partner A got their way and partner B just kind of gave in, right? And partner A thinks like, oh, we came to this agreement and plan. And meanwhile, partner B is like, they're like, groaning, becomes grumbling, becomes frustration, becomes resentment. And, that can be a real problem for our relationship, let alone what it might mean for our ability to work together on our finances, right? So yeah, it's not just about knowing where you are and where you want to go, but it's about how can we come together as a unit, get on the same page with this stuff, and then make a plan that actually is the fruit of both of our hearts and minds, right? Not just one person dominating the scene, right? Something that we put together. Pardon the use of the word together twice in a row, but there you go.
Yes. And we're going to go through that later in the interview also. And would you tell us a little about your background and what motivated you to become a couples financial coach?
The essence of it is that I saw a huge need in the market, and I felt like I had the skill set where I can make a difference and fill that need. The huge need, of course, being that finances is the number one stressor in relationships, and financial stress is repeatedly listed as a top cause of divorce in study after study, survey after survey. And yet, if you go on the internet and try and find people who do this work and it's the focus of their business, or who find books about it, or podcasts or YouTube channels about it, you won't come out completely empty, but you're not going to have a lot of choices. And that didn't make any sense to me, right? When I first discovered this several years ago, and I said, you know what, for me, okay, I'm a mediator, I am a former tax attorney, I studied economics, I have experience as a financial planner. Okay, I think I could actually make a real difference in this work at the intersection of relationships and money. And so then I set off to learn everything I could, read, and I've been since then reading, writing, podcasting, YouTubing, Instagramming, right? For the whole time, that's been my entire focus, right? How can I serve couples? And it's been a wonderful journey, and it's paid off beautifully. And you mentioned, okay, to get quoted in this or that publication is of course always exciting, but the biggest privilege is, and I hate if this sounds cheesy, forgive me, but watching the difference it makes for my clients, seeing what it makes available to them, people who had a dream of adopting a kid but had shelved the idea because they felt like they couldn't talk about money, and then all of a sudden they started to explore that again, right? People realizing they could move into their dream home, or that they could do okay on just one person's salary and the other person could stay home with the kids, or even people going from serious fighting and heading toward divorce back to being best friends, right? With money being at the center of both the struggles, but also the growth and the return to being best friends again. And so, it's a joy, it's a privilege, it's an honor. It's moving to be able to be a part of that. And I'm just excited for the coming years and hopefully decades that I get to do this with a lot more folks.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I'm sure they're really, when you see the difference and when you help people, that's a really, as you said before, one of the biggest causes of, let's say, of fighting and divorces and trouble So, I
Mhm.
mean, when you solve that thing, it's huge also emotionally, like, because I heard you say in one of your videos, it's a highly emotional connection to money, right?
Right, right, absolutely.
So when you see that, when you solve that kind of thing, it's like he kind of saves lives, actually. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's funny, right? Because you use the word solve it, and in some ways, finances are numbers, right, and equations, and then of course, as you mentioned, in other ways, there's a lot of emotions there too, and solving it is not that there's a single answer, right? So, like for people listening, I don't teach one answer. I don't believe there's one answer. There's not some place you need to get to, but rather, we've built up so much stuff, for lack of a better word, around money because of what we saw growing up. And some of our ideas around money are helpful and healthy, and some of them don't support the lifestyle we want or don't support the goals that we have. And the more we can clear away those things
Mhm.
that are in the second category, then the closer we're able to we the closer we will be able to be with our partner, and the more intentional we'll be able to be with our money and have it work for us and do the things we really want it to do. And that's really, I see that as the whole point of it all, right? That's why would I commit to somebody? Why would I get married to somebody? Because I want to build a beautiful relationship with them. And money is one of the tools that can either get in the way or facilitate us building and living the life that we want to have.
Mhm. Yeah, awesome. All right, great. So let's go to the next question, which is, what is the biggest problem when it comes to finances in the couple?
Challenges can present in any different number of ways depending on each person's background and the dynamics of their relationship. But ultimately, what it boils down to is a lack of trust and safety around this topic, right? Whether that means you don't trust your significant other to keep their word, or you don't trust them to be able to listen to you and listen to your thoughts without getting upset or jumping down your throat, as it were, right? And so that sense of feeling safe. And because of that, one of the biggest mistakes I see couples make is if money has been a tense issue for them, they'll try and deal with that by going to, well, we should make a budget and let's figure out what expenses to cut and things like that. Or they're going to discuss a particular micro decision as far as, like, should we go to YouTube TV or should we keep our full cable package? And when you don't have that trust and safety, that ability to communicate, and when you don't have a shared vision for the bigger picture and what you're trying to achieve, then going to the numbers like that, it's asking for a fight. It's just begging for trouble. And so I recommend that couples for whom money has been a tough topic, or they just haven't been able to get to it because they've been scared or what have you, start by building the relational part of it. Start by getting comfortable talking with each other about some of these things. And you can even start with a simple question like, how was money for you growing up in your family? How did your parents handle it? What kind of lessons did you learn from them, whether it was things to do or things not to do? And just talking about that will help you start to build more comfort, more safety.
200%. Yeah, that really makes sense, and it builds like the relationship. You know better the other person's position, right? Where they come from. So creates understanding.
Exactly. And the other thing I think you're alluding to is that when you understand yourself better and you understand your partner better and vice versa, now you can actually come up with tactical solutions that are much more effective and likely to meet your needs and likely to stick. because you have more information, right? In sometimes we can get information overload, but for the most part, more information helps us make better decisions. And unless you're that rare bird when it comes to money and your psyche and your partner's psyche, most of us know less than we could, right? Not more than we need to. So, if you know more than you need to, God bless you. Go for it, right? You can flip to a different podcast, I guess, for this hour. But but if you're like the vast majority of other folks, right, there is so much to be gained by understanding your own point of view and your partner's point of view better, both from a relationship perspective, but also from a financial tactical perspective. How do we build a plan that meets both of our needs? And if we have a plan that meets both of our needs, then we're both going to feel more inspired to stick to it, right? Versus if I'm trying to do something because it's what you want, well, the minute I get annoyed at you for something else, right, my brain is looking for spiteful ways to sabotage the financial plan because I'm human. But if we're both on board and we both see the merit and value and we're both getting to achieve our dreams, whether joint dreams or individual, okay, right, then let's rock it. Let's keep on working on this together.
When would be like the ideal moment in the transition, since a couple, they meet each other and then before moving together or right in the beginning, when do you think is the right moment to talk about finances?
So it's a great question, and one I get a lot. Certainly, if you're at the point where you are going to live together or get engaged or getting married or having a kid with somebody, absolutely you want to be talking about money then, if not before then, right? But as far as where to start, I think that you should have a conversation that's appropriate to what kind of relationship you're looking to build, and also what kinds of activities are you doing together. If you're just looking to have fun and date, then maybe not as important, right? So that's on the one end. And then, if you're just going out to the movies or to dinner, then the places you choose to go out, they're not going to necessarily have a big impact on either person's budget. But if you're going on a trip together, well, at this point, depending on whether you stay at the 5-star hotel or the 1-star motel, could make a big difference in the cost, right? And so at that point, there's an appropriate discussion to have, which is, I don't need to know necessarily how much is in your bank account, but let's talk about how much have you budgeted for this vacation or for this trip, right? So, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing proposition, but talk about the things that are relevant to where you are in life and where you are in the relationship. And if you want to talk about more, I'm not mad at that, right? I just think it's helpful to always approach it thoughtfully and with clarity around what your intentions are, right? So instead of trying to get at it in some sneaky way to find out about somebody, it's like, hey, you know what? I think we're going to go on this trip together, and whatever decisions we make could make it cost a lot less or a lot more. So I figure, why don't we talk about just how much money we want to set aside or put towards this vacation so that we can both feel comfortable and plan it, right? Or if you're starting to get serious, you really like somebody and you're wanting to get married, sooner than later kind of thing, you might say, hey, look, money is, of course, a really important topic and an uncomfortable one for a lot of people. And I don't have a particular end goal in mind, but I just think it might be healthiest for us to share some of our thoughts around money and how we look at it to help us get closer, understand each other better, and, see how we might fit for building a life together. And I mean, listen, I get that takes a lot of guts to say sometimes, but welcome to the life of a person in a relationship, right? Welcome to trying to have a real committed conscious, deep partnership. It takes the courage to lean into those kinds of conversations. And when it comes to money, it's no different. We should be having those conversations just the same.
I totally agree. And yeah, just for purpose of sharing, when I met my wife, we talked about it straight away. And that was really positive because till now we never had like a challenge about that. We were really clear and authentic. So if I get it right, from your last answer, is what you're advising or what you share is to be authentic about finances and to be open about it. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so moving to the next question. What is, okay, what's the solution? Let's go to the solution part.
I mean, of course, it depends exactly how the problem is presenting for you, right? But at the end of the day, the solution is to share more about your own point of view and feelings and how it's affecting you, the things that aren't working, and to encourage your partner to do the same by listening, by not jumping all over them if they say something you disagree with. So by being patient, empathetic, compassionate, by asking them questions, right? And really starting from the bottom, building that foundation of trust and that we can talk about this and it's going to be okay. And that's really where it begins. So, while we can make it complex, and it can be complex because we're humans and humans are complex, and you try and put two people together who have their own whole lives and points of view, it can be a doozy, right? But in essence, it's learn more about your partner by listening and asking them questions, and open up and share more about yourself. And then as you do, you'll find points of agreement, and you'll see areas where you might have different points of view, but then you'll have a good sense of what are the next steps to take to help come together. Or maybe you can build out your financial plan in a way that it's okay that you have this goal, but your partner has a different goal in a certain space, right? Okay, so we're going to work together. We're going to have a joint account for this goal, but then we're going to have a separate account for that goals and that goal, right? There's no one way to do it. It's only limited by our imagination and creativity. So if you two can work to get on the same page and get clear on your current financial situation, then really anything is possible from there.
Mm-hmm. So what would you suggest would be like the preparation, like the mindset to take the step, right? To sit down, because sometimes somebody, one of the partners, somebody earns more money, somebody doesn't earn money. For example, my sister, she was a mom, stay-at-home mom for years, so didn't have an income. So these kind of situations, what do you think would be like the preparation to get to that conversation?
The preparation is get over yourself. And I mean it, right? We're all human, myself included. This is what I do for work. And yet I have gotten all up in my feelings when talking about money with my fiance. And sometimes all up in my feelings about something she didn't even actually say, right? She said X and I heard Y and I got upset about Y. And then later it dawned on me and I said to her, wait, did you mean X? And she goes, yeah. Oh no, I totally agree with X.
Okay.
I don't know why I got upset. So like, just, we're all imperfect. We all have complex relationships with money. It was an uncomfortable or taboo topic for most of us growing up. And even if it wasn't for us, it probably was for our partner. And so just bring that same kindness and compassion for yourself and your partner that you would to any other challenging topic, right? Don't make money much different than those. I mean, of course, money has certain concrete components to it, right? If you don't have the money in the bank, you're not going to pay your rent and it's going to be a problem, right? But don't make it any harder than it has to be. Now, if you want something more concrete, especially if you haven't really been able to have a healthy conversation about money with your partner, or they've been few and far between, self-reflection is always good. You can ask yourself some questions about your relationship with money. Like I said, a big one is, what did you see from your family of origin and growing up? What messages did you receive from your religious community, from the culture that you are a part of? Other messages related to your experiences and your identity, for example, messages from society based on your gender or your race or your sexual orientation or any of these things, right? Just to get curious, not because there's anything wrong or that needs to be fixed or is broken, just to try and understand yourself better, right? Even a simple question like, what comes to mind when I hear the word money? Right? Like, just asking yourself that and letting your brain do its thing could be really powerful and informative, right? And so that'll just help you understand yourself better, learn your perspectives, your values, your points of view, your priorities better. And the more you know yourself, the more you can handle yourself when you get into a conversation. And so if your partner says something that gets you, but you might be able then to take a breath and, okay, right? Whether you need to ask to pause the conversation for a moment or an hour, or if you can just catch it and be like, whoa, okay, I just got a little off my game there for a second. Okay, I'm back with you, right? But again, no one's perfect, right? So it's just really asking yourself, what's the next right step I can take? And if you keep doing that and you keep having the courage to lean into uncomfortable conversations or calculations you're afraid to do, then you turn around and in a few months or a year, you may very well be in an entirely different place than you were when you started listening to this podcast today, for example.
So what, if I get it right, and what I understand is it's a really like also an inner work, right? It doesn't have only to do with numbers and how much and where and when, but also like let's learn to relax and be relaxed with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that plays a really big role. And you could just, open a Google Doc and just write down stream of consciousness all your thoughts when I ask that question, right? Like, what comes to mind when you think about money, right? Or you could hop on a call with a good friend and just like ask them if they're up for talking about like their thoughts about money and your thoughts about money, and just have a back and forth. There's no one way to go about it, but the more you explore, the better you're going to be. And look, you and I, we love this money related stuff, and so I could spend all day thinking and talking about it. For most people, for most couples, they have a lot of other things in their lives, and they want to know how to not feel overwhelmed by this, not fight about it, how to get on the same page, make a plan, maybe automate as much of it as possible, and just be able to live the life they want to live, right? And so that's fine. You don't have to become a guru of money mindset. It's not necessary. Just to practice cultivating enough self-awareness that you can share and communicate what's important to you, and that you can stay present while listening to your partner, right? Instead of getting thrown off by something that triggers you, that you're able to stay present and really listen to them and try and really understand what they're saying to you, right? And that may very well be enough, right? But a lot of people, it's either they don't know where to begin, or it's nerve-wracking, or they've made some excuse that lets them kind of say, oh, it's not going to work for me, or it's not going to work for us. And really, that's simply justifying where you already are, right? It's justifying the status quo. And for anyone who's listening, if your status quo works for you, then I'm not going to come in and tell you to change it. What's the point? I want couples to be happy and fulfilled and living the lives they want, however that looks, right? So if what you're doing is working for you, God bless. Take whatever you can from this conversation to, put the whipped cream and cherry on top and rock it. But if there's something that's not working or not going as well as you'd like it to, right? Whether that's we make a lot of money or we make good money, but somehow we don't have anything left over, or I work really hard, but I don't get to enjoy my life, or shoot, we can talk about money. I just don't even know where to begin, right? If any of those or anything like that fit for you, then yeah, try something new. Because if you keep doing the old thing, you probably keep getting the old results, right? And if that doesn't work for you in the long run, all right, I invite you to, try on some of what I've been talking about today, what we've been talking about today, and see if you might get some new results with some new actions.
Watching your material, I see that you talk about the myths of love and money.
Yeah. So, and I alluded to this a few moments ago. Usually it sounds something like, okay, and I invite anybody listening to try it on and see if it resonates with them. Oh, well, it's just going to make things worse if we talk about money. We're just going to feel uncomfortable or fight. It'll just make things worse. That's one. Right. Another big one that I see is, Adam, maybe that other couple was able to get on the same page and stop arguing, or it came closer together and whatever, but it's not going to work for me, or it's not going to work for us. I can't change, my partner can't change, it's not going to work for us, right? And then the other one is, yeah, maybe it would work, but I don't think it's worth the time or energy, right? And so we basically have, it's going to make things worse, it's not going to work for us, or it's not worth the time and energy. And what I find is that, unfortunately for your comfort level, but fortunately for the sake of your relationship, all of those things are false. And let me clarify, right? If you struggle to talk about money and you fight every time you do, or argue or whatever, if you go about it the same way and talk again, you're actually right. It may make things worse in that moment. But with the right approach, and hopefully I've given you some things to think about here today, you can shift and transform that conversation and have it go a new way. And the other side of it is, let's say that there's an underlying tension around money, but you just try to avoid it by not talking about it. That is going to eat away at you and the quality of your relationship, because you can't get away from this stuff, right? We're working, we're paying bills, we're buying things all day, every day. And so if money's a stressor, it's going to keep eating away, eating away, eating away. So in the long run, that's actually going to make things worse, right? Versus trying however you need to in order to figure out how to talk about this, get on the same page, make and execute a plan, right? The second myth being, well, maybe it worked for those other people, but it's not going to work for me or my partner. There is at least a significant element of our relationship with money that is nurture, not nature, right? There might be some genetic pieces to it. I can't say, I'm not a geneticist, I'm not a sociologist, but right, we know that the messages we see as children, right? Do we see, for example, only families where the man is the one earning the money? Or do we see also women who are working, earning money? Does our religion teach us that being wealthy is a bad thing or a good thing, right? All of this and much more is going to affect our thoughts and our points of view around finances. So if you agree with that, then the short equation is, right, if the way we grew up and the messages we received affect how we think about money, right? That means that our money mindset is not fixed, which means we can change it, right? And that's the theory. And, again, the parts that work for you, keep them. But the parts that are not working for you or that are making a negative impact on your relationship, then those are the ones that you'll want to look more into and see how you can shift them. And then the last point is the time or energy. Well, listen, if you are going to talk about money and yet just end up fighting or feeling worse, then you'll be right. It probably won't be worth the time or energy. However, remember, if you don't deal with this, it's going to keep sucking away at your soul, eating away at the quality of your relationship, not to mention the tangible impact on your bank account. So, and then the third myth is that, it's not going to be worth the time or energy. And look, I get it. If you're going to fight about it when you talk about it or just feel worse, yeah, that's probably not worth your time or energy. But if you can figure this thing out, I've watched my clients time and again feel more enthusiastic, more verve for life, more inspired, right? More in love with each other. And to share a story, I had a client who came to me with serious money conflict. And the husband, his main frustration was they worked really hard to buy a home in an expensive cost of living area, but they couldn't turn it into their dream home because of the financial stuff. Well, just within a few weeks of working together, all of a sudden his mindset had totally shifted and he was doing all kinds of projects around the house. Now, what happened? They didn't get a blank check. They didn't have thousands more dollars. It was the emotional weight of feeling this tenseness with his wife and like they couldn't talk about it versus when they committed to working on it together, in that case with me, he could see a light at the end of the tunnel. It lifted a huge weight off of his shoulders. He realized his best friend was going to be his teammate again, in that case, his wife. And so all of a sudden he realized there was a bunch of projects he could do around the house that didn't cost much money, if any at all. And I remember he got on the call, he said, I'm doing all kinds of projects now, and I got my dad helping, and I've got the kids helping. And he had more energy, more vitality, right? Because this was no longer plaguing him, no longer sapping away his spirit. And so that is what's possible if you and your partner can really handle this, do it the right way, get on the same page.
It's amazing if like two people, a couple gets on the same page, like really it's a synergy, right? They become unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Amen.
is beautiful. It's beautiful to see and to live. And what happens when there are like different values about money? Do you have like any experience about that or?
I mean, look, it happens literally all the time, right? No two people are identical. And that's not necessarily an issue um, unless it is, or unless you make it one. So let me talk more about those. Um, how you make it an issue is by using that as an excuse or getting annoyed at your partner by because they have a different point of view about something, right? Um, why does that have to create conflict? No, if anything, you can just hear their point of view, try and understand it as much as possible, and then you can share your thoughts, but actually speak to what is they really do think versus what you have imagined that they think, right? Um, the other question is, okay, so where is it actually a problem? And you might say, well, because we have different money mindsets or different values. And so, I want to focus more on paying down this debt, whereas my partner wants to focus more on enjoying life today and taking that extra vacation and let it take longer to pay down the debt. Okay. Now listen, that is not necessarily an easy one as far as there's a ready-made tactical solution, but you have to ask yourself, is there an actual problem here, right? Where and how does it affect us? If your partner's favorite hobby is collecting bottle caps and your favorite one is collecting puzzles, who cares, right? You have some money set aside for puzzles and your partner has some money set aside for bottle caps. There's not a problem there. So don't make one, right? Now, if you have different ideas about how you should spend the money towards, let's say, like I said, debt or vacations, that's a little bit more challenging, right? But again, you go back and you just hear each other out and try and understand why, right? Why do those vacations matter to your partner? Why does paying down that debt matter to you? Maybe they say, look, I just worked so hard. My job is so stressful. I just want to be able to enjoy it a little more. Okay, great. Well, then now instead of just take that extra vacation or not, now we can say, all right, well, what are then the most relaxing types of vacations? Or what kinds of vacations are the most bang for our buck in terms of relaxation, right? Does it have to be going somewhere? Could it be a staycation and, we just order in food all the time or whatever, right? And paying down the debt. Well, why? Well, for a sense of stability and security, but also maybe you felt like, well, until we pay down our debt, we shouldn't be starting a family, right? Maybe you dig in, you realize that. Okay, well, I got that. Now, instead of pay down more debt or less debt, it's okay because we want to be able to start our family, and I'd feel nervous if we had a lot of debt in doing that. Okay, got it, right? Well, now we can talk about, well, what if we set aside a certain amount of money in an emergency fund, right? Even if we still have this debt, right? Or what if we refinance the debt from a 7% interest rate to a 4% interest rate? How much would that help, right? So now we have lower monthly payments, et cetera, right? You can continue down the line. And again, there's no one answer, but it's about building the comfort talking about this so that you can get that deep with each other, opening up so that your partner can understand you. And then as a team, thinking and looking for creative ways to meet the actual need, right? Because we can get caught up in I want to pay down our debt quickly, but there's a reason why, because I feel anxiety when we don't. Okay, well, are there other ways that we can maybe address that financial anxiety? What about having an emergency fund, right? What about if we cut such and such monthly expense? What about if we trade in for a less expensive car? Whatever, right? It's only limited by our creativity. And if you can come together and open up to each other and hear each other out, then the whole universe of solutions is going to open up to you.
Yes. If they when there's a team, both start to think about solutions, right? Instead of being against each other and try to prove their own point. Then they get together and they look both for the solution of this problem, of this issue, or whatever it is. So totally agree with that. Okay, so talking
Absolutely.
about also some how do you say, typical stuff. What do you think is better, joint accounts or separate accounts?
Yeah, so one thing that people will hopefully get about my approach and my work is that there's no one answer, right? I think what matters when it comes to joint and separate accounts is that you have thought about why you prefer one or the other and the benefits and the drawbacks to each approach, right? So for example, if you're choosing separate accounts because you have fear and it's hard for you to trust people around money, but you haven't told your partner that, then that's probably not the best choice because they don't understand why. And they might just feel like you don't trust them, and that's no fun. Versus like if you can talk to them and say, look, I've had these experiences in the past. It's been really difficult. People have violated my trust and betrayed my trust with money. And so I might be slow to come along, right? Now, first of all, you tell them that, they're going to understand you better. They'll have more empathy for your situation. They'll be able to treat you in a way that's more appropriate. But check it out. are joint accounts the only way to share financial activities and goals? And no, right? You can do it so many ways. One of my clients, they weren't ready to merge their finances yet, but they bought a car together, right? And that was a big commitment for them, and it made sense as the next step. Maybe it's signing a lease together, right? For some couples, it might be just buying a toaster together, right? Wherever you're at is fine. For some people, they may have experienced what we call financial abuse in the past. In 99% of domestic abuse cases, there is a significant component of financial abuse, because controlling the money helps you control the other person, right? It helps you keep them there, even though you're not treating them well, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't want to get too explicit about it. Just, I want to be sensitive to anyone who's listening. But, especially if that's your situation or your partner's, look, it's normal to not feel comfortable or safe, at least right off, to go dive headfirst into sharing a bunch of financial things together, right? And if you're the partner in this situation, do your best not to take it personally, right? Because it's not about you. It's about what works best for each of you and both of you in this moment right now, right? And where you are today doesn't have to be where you are in 5 years, right? No matter what, right? If you have joint accounts today, you can separate some or all that money later. If you have separate accounts today, you can merge some or all of that money later, based on whatever factors you consider to be important. But relationships are not better or worse based on how they share or don't share their finances, or how much they do or don't share, right? But there are also pros and cons to consider, right? Generally speaking, if you have joint accounts, if you put everything together, one benefit is that it might be easier for taking care of bills and tracking and accounting for your money. On the other hand, if you get divorced, it could be a little more complicated to pull it all apart and disentangle it. Another pro of having all your money together is that it encourages you to work together and work as teammates and trying to figure out what to do with your money. On the other hand, that could lead to more disagreement, tension, and conflict, right? And separate accounts have similar, but of course in the opposite direction, types of pros and cons too, right? Less conflict when you have separate accounts, but also more potential to feel out of the loop, disconnected from your partner, alone in your financial endeavors. And also it creates a little bit more of an invitation to not tell your partner about certain financial issues or purchases, right? Because it feels like you can get away with it because they're not looking at the bank account, right? So if you go and blew that money on gambling, they may not realize it. Whereas if you took it from the joint account, they would probably figure it out pretty quickly, right? So they all have pros and cons, whether all joint, all separate, or some mix. And I just encourage people to just think about it and talk about it and brainstorm, and then try something and check in a month or 3 and see how it's been going. And if you like it, keep it. And if you don't like it, try something different until you find one that sticks.
Definitely. So, since we're making people aware about this topic, right, with these podcasts that you do and our podcast too, usually I ask, what are the 3 favorite books about the topic? What are your 3 favorite books, and what would you advise to people watching?
Yeah, well, this topic obviously sits at an intersection of 2 popular topics: relationships, communication, and money. So depending on when this episode airs, I am in the midst of writing my own book, which is basically my program, my Pathways to Prosperity program, but in a self-help guidebook form. So that'll of course have to be at the top of my list. There's another wonderful book called The Heart of Money by Deborah Price. And I think that one is really well done and well written. And, in terms of communication, there's so much great stuff out there. But if you want a place to start, rather than a book, I would just say go on YouTube and type the word empathy and then the name Brene Brown, which is Brene, and then Brown, like the color. And she's someone who's studied shame for her whole career. And it's a very quick video that's cute and animated. And I think that's such an amazing place to start, is watching that video, and just see where it takes you.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing. And when your book comes out, we would love to have you back so
Thank you.
we can talk about it and spread the word.
I very much appreciate that.
Awesome. So except from this education, in case people want to work one-on-one with you, where can they find you?
Absolutely. So my website is couplesfinancialcoach.com, and everything you need is on there. There's a link if you would like to see if we are a fit. You can go to set up a complimentary financial harmony consultation, and there is all kinds of other resources on there. My blog, my podcast episodes, testimonials from clients, which, by the way, I recommend watching those even if you're not interested in working with me, because you can see yourself in what was going on with them and the growth that they've had. Because I want you to know that it's possible for you. I want you to know that you can go from anywhere to somewhere completely new and different in a good way around your finances. I want you to know that that is possible for you to really grow from wherever you are to wherever you want to be. And again, it's couplesfinancialcoach.com. And I've also, if you're not ready yet to jump on a call with me, I've got a really neat quiz on there, couplesfinancialcoach.com/quiz. And it'll tell you your couple's money personality type, which is something that I created. And basically it's about where you and your partner are at in terms of being on the same page about money and communicating about it. And then depending on whichever result you get, then you'll get a free gift and a series of emails to help you go from where you are and keep climbing up that ladder to the next step.
Awesome, son. And you're also all over social media. I contacted you on Facebook, so yeah, right. They can find you everywhere, right?
Absolutely. I mean, everything is Couples Financial Coach, right? Couples Financial Coach Podcast, couplesfinancialcoach.com, on Instagram and Facebook at Couples Financial Coach. So feel free to check me out on any and all of those places. Shoot me a message. Let me know what you thought of the interview. If you have any questions, I could point to the right resource, and let me know how I can help you and your partner level up in this area.
Exactly. However, put a comment below. Let us know. Let us know, and we will get back at you.
Absolutely.
And if I can share also my own personal experience about money mindset. I come from, I was born in Albania, where at the time it was pretty tough. And then it was communism. We came out of communism. It was even harder. So we had also some challenging times financially. And my father himself, he came from really poor family. So when I thought about it later, I was asking myself, hey, why I don't have like the life of my dreams? So suddenly I became aware, right, of my own mindset, the way I think. And since then, my own life, like when I took this topic in my hands, changed dramatically. And whoever is like maybe in a tough time, you don't have to do it alone. There is people that are experts on this topic. So go ahead and seek sustain. It's okay also to seek help, right?
Yep.
And most
100%.
of all, to believe it's possible to change the situation. It's possible.
Perfectly said.
I was telling my own example because I changed my own, my own bank account, let's say. So
absolutely. And great job for you.
That's great. So yeah, some more questions before we wrap it up. What advice would you give to young people, let's say 20-year-old, about this topic about money and when they get like in a relationship this age, what kind of advice would you give them, young people?
Yeah, I would say work on your own relationship with money, right? Get really intimately connected to your own finances, right? Make sure you understand where your money's going and what you're bringing in. Make sure you're thinking about your future and learning to fill in the gaps in your knowledge about personal finance, as well as doing some of that introspection and building self-awareness. And the more you do that, then when you meet that person who you want to build a life with, you will be that much more ready to talk about it with them and navigate it with them. So yeah, focus on just your own growth and things will fall into place.
Well, yes, that's also a rule that it's worth for every area of the relationship, right? When we're ready, and then we meet somebody else that's ready. That's like
Mm-hmm.
the ideal and the perfect situation, right?
Exactly.
Many times it's an ideal, but it's possible.
Yep.
So I also share that advice. Okay, before we wrap it up one more time, did you have a good time?
Absolutely. We have fun together.
Awesome. So Adam Kol, thank you very much for being on our podcast, Swiss Made Success, Stairway to Excellence. And I hope to talk to you soon when your book comes out.
Thank you so
Wish you the
much.
best. And one more time, the couple's financial coach, Adam Kol. Would you like to share one more time your website?
Sure. Couplesfinancialcoach.com.
And I want to thank everybody for watching this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.